Hello, good morning. Thank you to join Project on this training. Today is the getting started with Movicon 11. So we will review the following topics. Module number 1 is about some basic concept. We'll review and we'll give you some tips for the installation. We review together the project workspace, the environment, looking at the menu, toolbars, project windows of the environment, give you some information. Then the next step is look at the driver, communication driver. Normally is the first step. I will show how you can add and configure a driver inside Movicon 11, and with looking at all the properties. We'll take a look together with the new project, so starting from zero, creating a new project following the wizard, and then we'll look at the project, the main project properties. We'll then focus inside one of the resources of the project, that is the real-time text database, is where you define your variables and where you import your variables. We'll look at the variable properties, of course. We'll make some simulation. So it's a technical training. We will make example and simulation inside this webinar. The second module, we'll look at the graphics. I know it's a big word. I will show how you can create and manage the screens, the synoptics. We'll take a look at the screen properties, at the screen configuration, how you can open and navigate in the screen. There are different modalities. Open a screen as normal, open a screen as a pop-up, as a frame. So we will take a look at this stuff. Then we start to draw something. Okay, we have few time, but we can use the toolbox object. I will show how you can simply drag on a screen the object from the toolbox and from the symbol library. Then we will go through the dynamic animation of the objects, looking at the object property, how you can create the symbols. Symbols are done with more objects, how you can group and group this symbol, how you can put in the library. And so we'll start with the graphics, with some examples. Last module for today, for the first part of the webinar, will be the alarm management. I will show how you can create and generate the alarm inside Movicon 11. There are different modalities. I will show how you can do this, how you can associate the alarms with the field variables. We'll look at the alarm properties, at the threshold property of the alarm. Then how you can see this alarm inside your project, inside your alarm Windows screen. There are already objects present in the toolbox. Simply you can drag and you can immediately see your alarms. Of course, all these objects could be customized. We can look at the properties of these objects. Then by default, Movicon stores the alarm in a database. We'll show how you can get this information, historical information for the alarms, so all the alarm events, in order to generate, for example, an alarm report or an alarm statistics. At the end, I will show also how you can dispatch, so send this important information. The alarms are really an important information. How we can dispatch from our SCADA to via SMS, via email to I don't know, a maintenance guy, an operator, and read this information directly inside the mail or inside an SMS. We'll take a look also on this stuff. Okay, just before to start with some examples, some general information, general concept about Movicon. That is a scalable software. That means that is suitable for all the Windows operating system. Starting from the newest, we always support the latest operating system, like Windows 10, 8.1, 8, and go in the past, Windows 7, of course, are supported. We have a specific setup for a standard PC, that could have this operating system or a Windows Server operating system, and a different setup for the Windows C environment in a different version, Windows Embedded Compact the Windows 7 version, Windows 6.0, and the previous version. You can run our software in a virtual machine environment. Our tests are focused on VMware virtual machines, but you can easily use the Movicon also in other virtual systems. No problem for 32 or 64-bit operating system. You have the benefit, one of the big benefits, you have always one single editor, one single environment to build, to configure your project, even if you are creating an application that is for a different target. No? The project keep always the same modular structure. We show that is based on an XML code. No? All the resources are written in a transparent way, in a standard technology that is based on an XML. Then up to you, you can create a different application, different context, starting from a big redundant server that use our features, no redundant features, normal workstation, create application for an HMI close to the machine, run and see, review your screens, your synoptic, your features. Also, in the mobile device, we have an app ready for iOS, for example, in the App Store. Same is for the Android device, no? So we have this app ready to see your screen, your interface also on the mobile device. Or you can install and run directly, no, on the PLC controller, the software. So it's up to you. No? The architecture of the project could be very different. No? You could have a server project or a redundant server plus client projects that are exchanging information, data via networking, or web client. No? So you can reach the server information through a web client technology. Installation. Typical installation is from our DVD that you get when you purchase our license. Or you can easily go on our website, www.progea.com. You can go in the download section and take and get the latest setup. Actually, we released the 11.5. You can get the latest setup. You must be a registered user. No, you just few seconds to register on our website to get access at the download section. Language of installation, the setup will offer different language. You can select one or two languages, so you can install also with two language and switch between the two language while you are developing the environment. You can normally install with the typical installation. For a particular case, you can run also in the wizard a custom installation that let you, for example, install only the runtime, in case you don't need to install the development environment. Runtime will be able to run your application, but you cannot configure it. Or in case that the hardware have a low memory available, you can install just the runtime. Some general tips, not only for Movicon, but for all the software in this new operating system, if have the correct access at the project resource. Movicon is a program that write on files, so require the correct users level. So having the administrator write on the PC, keeping the UAC that is the unit account center in the control panel on never notify, having an operating system update also because our software, we are Microsoft partner, so our application are in accord with the digital signature, and an operating system update will guarantee this stuff, and maintain the project files that you are creating in a classical standard destination, not using the Windows folder that could have some restriction in the access rights. That's more or less all. When you install Movicon, you will have in the start the folder containing all the icons to open the environment to call the demo, to access the help and all the additional tools installed with the package. Now, before to look at the workspace, let's see now what you get when you install Movicon. You will have in your C folder, program file, the folder Progea that contain all the installation file, no, all the DLL, all the executable file. No, what could be interesting just to know that we have here the Movicon X. That is a good rule, not to run as administrator always, no, in the compatibility run as administrator. So the Movicon X will call the developer environment, the Movicon runtime, no, could be associated with the project to start without passing through the developer environment. So is the second step, no, when the project is ready to run directly the project without pass through the developer environment. The other files are not so important at the moment. Just to know, we have here in the driver folder all the DLL of the specific communication driver, and our developer are working on this driver, so could happen that you need to update this DLL. Just take the latest version from our site and replace here, no, to use the latest driver version. Together with the Progea installation path, Movicon install also in your user public folder an additional Progea folder that contains the demo project, or the demo that you run from the start button. You can also open in development environment to check and to copy, and the symbol library that contains all the objects present in the Movicon symbol library. Here you could create your library and install and save here your projects. That's all what you get for, no, after the installation. Now, looking at the workspace, Movicon 11 use the disappearing windows technique. No, you can resize, move, hide, fix, no, your windows, and you can also close if not necessary. Let's start with a new project together. So I will leave for the moment the workspace, the PowerPoint, and we start together an empty new project for standard platform. File, new. This is the small wizard guide us during the project creation. The first step is select the platform. We are creating a project for a typical operating system. So it could be a Windows 10, Windows 7, Windows 8, of course, or a Windows Server. Then you have different selection to create a project for a different platform, Windows CE, or create your templates. Let's go with the typical, no, standard application. Now we have the mask that forces us to insert a project name. For binaire, we will call this first part. And we can decide where store the project resource. As I told, you could use easily a folder in D or in C as you prefer, not using the Windows folder that could bring some problem in case, for example, you are using a web client or an additional feature or an interface with the database. So, classical folder. In the wizard, there are some additional properties that we can set also later. So I will talk about this later, not to protect your project. The next step is about users. You can protect your project in development or insert a user management for the runtime of a project. You can do from here, but the main settings, but you can also act later in the project property. So I will leave the default. The wizard asks for an insert a communication driver. Now you know your PLC, so you can add immediately from here. This is the list of the available communication driver. We have almost 70 different and specified DLL for reach all the most common PLC. You can select from the wizard your driver, or later from the environment. I go with the next, so without inserting nothing. This mask let you insert some synoptic, some screen in your new projects. We can start with 10 screen, for example. We could add a screen caption or a navigation by default, so it's the title for your synoptic, and is a menu to navigate between the screens. If you want, you can insert this or remove, up to you, and create manually. About the resolution, Movicon detect the resolution of your monitor, and so create the screen with this resolution. It's important to keep the end PC resolution for your synoptic. Background color, and continue. A database interface for a SCADA is a very important part, no? How you go and store your field variable, no? Your pressure, your temperature, in a database. Movicon is open to interconnect all the most common database engine. No? For example, an SQL Express, so free of charge version. We have the dedicated plugin. I will talk about how you can interface your project with the database in the second part of the webinar. So for the moment, I will leave the default, that is a Microsoft Access database. No? Movicon will generate MDB file. This engine is available in all the Microsoft operating systems, so we can go without touching this part for the moment. No? Just we know we will store our, for example, logs, no? All the alarm events inside an access file. Data logger is the folder that will drive the database interface for your field variable. We'll discuss about these properties, these important features, during the second part of the webinar. Alarm template. The wizard of the possibility to insert two alarm templates, a digital alarm and an analog alarm template. I'll talk and discuss about this later when we discuss about alarms. Continue, finish. So now the project is done. Movicon is creating all the XML file for the resource, and here we have our project. The environment, how is organized? We have here on the left the project explorer. You can have here one or more Movicon project. If you expand, you have the tree structure of your project. Today we will look at the real-time database resource, is where you define your variable and the driver. The screen resource, so all your graphic interface, and the alarms. And then we start to learn something about Movicon. How is organized? On the right, you have always the property window. So if you select the project, you have the main property of your project. If you select, for example, a variable or a screen, you have the property of the screen. Now it's working like this. It's dynamically updated according to your selection. Then you can say, oh, what's happened here in the middle? In the middle, you have, of course, the graphical editor, no? But you need to open a screen. So with a double click on the screen, you will open in the middle a graphical editor that allows you to insert objects from the toolbox, from the symbol library, and to drag and drop the variable to animate your objects. Okay, it's working like this. Graphical editor with a grid that you can customize inside the layout view. For example, you have the grid setting to change the pixel of your grid. You can remove the grid, fix the snap to grid to align when you are drawing in a good way all your objects. Then on the top, you have the classical menu that recall all the features. You can open an existing project. You can save as, in case you want to rename your project, a list of the recent project. In the edit, you have the undo, redo, copy, paste function. The find, finder that you find text and string in your project. Replace also, in case you want to replace. Import drawing from, for example, from AutoCAD. View let you customize a little bit what you are seeing in your menus. You can change the look, the application look, and you have some quick command for some resource that are related for the variable, for example, the cross-reference, where the variable are used, the string, so all the text of your project. In the layout, you can play with the object, the symbol that you can build. In the tools are the tools installed together with the standard package, let you configure the alarm dispatcher, for example, to dispatch your messages, your alarms, in a different plugin. Some tools that are an help to go and modify your resource. For example, the variables. No, you can export your variable on the CSV file, change the property, add the variable externally, and then in Movicon you can import with the same tool. Same is for the text, in case you want to create a multi-language project. Same is for the alarms. Some quick link for Windows tool, Node Explorer, and so on. Here you have, this could be quite important, interesting, in case you involuntarily, you are starting, so I know what I'm saying. Maybe you involuntarily close your environment and you cannot find the Windows. Here in the Windows, reset Windows layout, Movicon will start as was at the beginning with all the predefined settings. Windows, reset Windows layout, to restart with the classical organization of the Windows. In the help, you have the access of the rich help online with a lot of information. It's really rich help. We have a tutorial that is more or less a summary to what we are doing today, how you can create a project, how you can insert the variable, and so on. So you can keep the tutorial as a guide on the paper, to review what we are seeing today during this webinar. Look at the version that you are using on your PC. Some online features on the site, on the project site. Okay, that is more or less how is organized the top menu. Here are some commands, some quick link for all the commands. Important is this green circle with the arrow. Let you start, let you move from the development environment, go runtime to test your application. Then again, important is a few words about the dongle, the license. Movicon work in IO byte in use, so not in text. So count only the IO byte of the variable that are kept in use from the resource, the screens, the data logger, the alarm, the script. Here you know what is your peak, so you can size your license. Here you can check if your dongle is properly detected and which features are enabled. We have two options: go with a physical USB dongle, or you can install a soft key. We need the site code to generate the site key. So this is our commercial stuff, but when you want to proceed with soft key, you should give us the site code of your environment to allow us to generate the license. Then on the right, together with the property windows, there is the toolbox. Is a reach of object, starting from the basic shapes to basic control, buttons, lights, different style of the buttons, switches, selector, 2-3 states, slider, gauge, potentiometer, and so on. Trend charts, data analysis. The objects contain very interesting objects like the alarm windows, like the IP camera, like the embedded view. So there are many objects interesting in this folder. We will start to learn. Clocks. Then you can switch from property windows to the symbol library. Symbol library, we have objects for different purposes. General object, This really rich library of classical objects that you can find in a SCADA. This object could be static or animated with an animation. Here you have an overview of the object. You can go and interact with the library from the browsers folder here or directly from this tab menu. Then the other windows are the Script Explorer. Movicon 11 keep on board the WinWrap library, so you can, when necessary, extend the functionality through a Visual Basic code that could be added in a different project context as a resource, for example, to initialize variable inside a screen when the screen is loaded. We'll talk in the intermediate level about the scripting. We have the IL logic, is another logic engine we keep on board, is instruction logic. You can play with your variable, inserting bit instruction, inserting operation or word instruction. So you can play with the variable. Maybe if you come from a Siemens experience, you know what this IL logic means. So you can switch from here. In case you don't need, you can close. XML Code Explorer lets you explore the XML structure of your resource, for example, the screen. This is due to the standard technology that we adopt. So all the resources are written on an XML code. So here all the properties are in clear. Maybe it's not the message is not clear. What is the advantage? But if you interact with the project with the third-party application, for example, you can directly access the project resources that are in XML and change them with the third-party application. Refactoring is an help for the developer. You can update and rebuild here the refactory. Here will be listed information like you are using a variable in one object, but this variable is not defined in real-time database. You are drawing outside of the screen context, so you have this kind of information. At the end, to conclude with the workspace, here in the bottom part, we have the output windows. These read the logs that Movicon stores by default. So you have important information while you are debugging your project. So these output windows will be available also in runtime through this flag execution. And here are listed, for example, communication driver error messages, error problems of your project, and for the different resource. If you are creating a server client application, problem with the database, or problem with the OPC, UA. So it could be really important. Having a look here at the logs of your project. That's all, guys, about the workspace, how it's organized. Always multi-selection of the resources is always available with the shift, so to change quickly the properties for a lot of resources. You can use the drag and drop, to drag the variable over the object. We integrate, as I told, logic editor, VBA scripting, VB.NET or EL logic, and that is our working. Okay. Now we can leave for the moment the PowerPoint. In the project, it's important to show the main project properties. So I will click on my project name. I move on the right. Let me save. I move on the right. Can minimize. This is not interesting. Here we have the project property, main project property. In the general, we have the possibility, for example, to select the project path and have a look outside of Movicon in the resource of your PC. This is quite important because it is a typical Movicon 11 project structure. So all the projects are organized in this way. We have some folder and some file. What is the main file? Is the project name dot move prj Movicon project. This is the file that you double click when you want to open and edit. Is the file that you use together with the Movicon Runtime X to start directly the runtime of your project without pass through the development environment. All these files are related to a different project resource. We have a file for the real-time database, are the variables. We have the file for the alarms, and so on. Here how is organized our project. Before I told we are using XML technology, what does it mean? This means that you can open the project resource, for example, with a text editor, and you can see that all the properties are in clear. You can imagine, we have a big customer that used this advantage to interact with the third-party application and change the property, add part of the project, dynamically. But this is not the purpose of this code. The folder, we have information regarding the alarms, information regarding the variable, in case you are using the data log resource, so you are storing in the database your field variables. Here you have, for example, the HS file of you keep here the reports in case you are generating a report of the data, image. So JPEG, bitmap that you are using are stored here, so you can make easily a full backup without caring at the link of the image. Lots important now when you ask for our support or for yourself to check the problems. This is the output windows is looking at this logs file. Resource contains the screens, the scripts resource are here, and here is the extension of this resource. So this is how is organized the project. And Movicon keep also a zip when you save the project. So looking at the properties, the ability to encrypt. So to encrypt means if you add a user management or you keep under protection your project in development, so only the developer that knows the username and the password can access and open this environment. With the encryption, you can protect the XML, will be encrypted. Movicon say the backup as I show by default. If you want to keep more backups, you have to flag here, and you can keep more backups with an additional build number. Default database interface, so the default ODBC connection plugin. Today we are working with Access. Next week we show how you can connect the project with an SQL database. Through the ODBC settings, we will discuss about this stuff next second part of the training. SMTP setting is in case you want to send, for example, a report. You should configure this mask, inserting the information of the mail sender, not the server that will send. So you need an account, a server available here that is able to send the mail, the report, for example, as attachment of a mail. The default setting we give in the wizard, resolution and color for the screen. In the advanced, now I not spend time, but you can customize, for example, the pad that you call in a touch interface to insert a value, if the default are not okay. Platform is what we select in the wizard, so you could also change from here. When you select a different platform, for example, the Windows C platform, you go and set simply some constraints, so some limits in the resource of the project, and so the developer is alerted in case you go over this limit, because of course a Windows C device, if you have experience on this kind of device, is limited in comparing a standard PC, a standard application. That's why we have a different setup, that's why we have different constraints. But today, standard PC, standard platform. Project path let you customize the location of this folder, the project folder, for example, to share the logs in a network folder, if you want to share with the colleagues or with the maintenance team, the errors, the logs, to be always available, or change the data logger path. You can go here, in case of, for example, EMDB. Okay, now could be start to be interesting, the project execution properties. Here you go and set, for example, the startup screen. Is the screen that's open when you run your project. Could be your main page, could be your overview screen of the application. Startup script, you can call here, for example, a script that you define in the script resource to initialize some variable when your project starts, for example. Shutdown script is the same, but when the project shut down, you can stop and load the script from memory. Startup commands. You can set, when the project goes runtime, a Movicon command. What is a Movicon command? It's a list of instructions that you can set here inside the buttons, inside the events, inside the schedulers, for example, not to perform an action with a different resource. For example, variable. I can set a variable equal 100 when the project starts. Okay, I can set a language. I can set a user when the project starts. Same, when project shut down, you can perform a command. Execution property, preload screens. It means that all the screens will be signed as always in memory, will be loaded at the project startup. The project take a little bit more at the startup. Then the screens are in memory, so you can switch between, for example, heavy screen in a faster way. Is suggestible only when you have, for example, a device that have a few memory available and the screen change is low. You can use this startup with the full screen, as I was saying. You will start up the Windows screen in a full Windows mode, hiding the application title bar, show the status bar, show the output windows. It's important not to have this output window when you are debugging your project, so it could be a good suggestion for the beginners. Some advanced option to hide and disable Windows features. Gesture you should enable here. For example, our demo use the gesture. Is in case you have a touch interface, you can enable the gesture manager inside the screen, so you can, for example, switch from a screen to another with moving your finger over the screens, as we are normally do today with our mobile device. So you can interact with the project with the gesture. Could be a good features. Movicon 11.5 support the multi-touch, so you can also make the pitch and zoom, all this stuff with the screen, and was optimized recently with 11.5. This resource is for Windows C, is not important at the moment. Historical logs. Just let me spend a few words on this. Movicon store by default these events in a database according to the plugin that you define. So store all the alarm events, alarm on, alarm off, acknowledge, resetted, in the database. In our case, in an HS file, could be an SQL database. This is important because we will generate reports about this. And here in the historical log setting, you can define all this setting, how long keep this data. If you want to customize the connection with the database, use the RAM and not a physical database. So alarms events, driver messages, communication fault. So these are important information. It's good to have this info in a safe location, that is the database in this case. Driver messages, communication error with my station, system messages, user logged on, project started up. So keep all this info in a safe location in the database. We'll discuss about this point also next part of the training, second part of the webinar. Okay, I'm sure I bore you with all this property. Now we can move inside our first resource, inside the real-time database. The real-time database is where you define the communication driver, is where you insert your variables. Okay, so in case you want to build the communication with your PLC, Movicon offers a different opportunity. The best way is always the specific communication driver. As I told, we have a list of almost 70 different DLL. Use this already with the specific settings, so will be the best way. Then Movicon offer other connectivity points. For example, we can be an OPC client, UA or DA. So we can interconnect all the OPC server that are running with this standard. We are member of the OPC Foundation, so we embed all the technology in a good way. Let's see how you can do that. So the OPC is here, but it's not part of this webinar. Will be the intermediate level. Standard is insert a communication driver. Could be the first step when you are building your application. How you can do that? With the right click or through the command list. You can always proceed with the right click over the resource or calling with the same command with the quick link here. Right click, add the new communication driver. Here is the list of the driver. We have driver for all the most common device, Codesys, BACnet, the TwinCAT driver for the big off, TwinCAT 2, TwinCAT 3, B&R, so all our technology partner, GIF, Nuke, Hitachi. We have driver for the building automation for the energy, like the EAC building, like konu, Sloan Work. We have driver for Mitsubishi. We have the Modbus driver, serial or Ethernet, Omron, PLC. Our partner like Panasonic, VPAP, Phoenix, Contact. We have specific driver for Rockwell, the Ethernet IP. We have, of course, a lot of driver from Siemens, the standard 7 TCP driver, previous and old driver with adapter, and to reach all the different protocols, Yaskawa, WIPA, so the partners. Today we will do a test inserting a Modbus Ethernet TCP driver. Is an example. I have here a simulator, so it's simple for me to simulate something with the Modbus Ethernet TCP IP driver. But all the settings, all the stuff is similar for all the drivers. So once you learn one, you can use the other driver in the same way. So when you're inserting, just a flag here, you can start to collect information, the version of the DLL present in the driver folder on the installer package, and you start to collect, which is the protocol supported, if the driver supported area, if the driver support the importer, and so on. Cosmetics info, but you can select and add OK. Once you add the driver, is here. With a double click, you can edit. Let me address you at the help. Double click help. Here you have really a good information for each driver. There is a specific help for each driver. We have info, an overview of talking about the protocols. We have the hardware information, requirement, the cable diagram, tested devices, cable diagram. In case of a particular pinout, could be interesting. The address information with examples. And all the specific settings for all the properties of the driver. So the help is here. Then, how is organized a driver? We have 4 tabs here. One is the general property of the driver. So you have property like the waiting time, the timeout, polling time, unused and polling time to refresh the text that are inserted but not called in used from the resource, the screens, for example. We can keep update also this variable, but with the lower frequency each 10 seconds. You can also put 0 if you don't want to refresh this variable to avoid unload that is not necessary for the driver. These are the general properties. And we need a station. Each driver requires at least one station. The station is where you insert, with the plus, you can add the station. Where you insert, for example, the IP address of your device. This is the local host on my PC. You can give a name of your of the PLC. There are some important info. Sorry, I said the wrong state. The IP address is, of course, in the TCP/IP setting here in the server address. In the state command variable is another important point. Here I suggest you to add an internal variable to monitor the communication, to handle the missing communication, for example. Look at here. If you press F1 in all the Movicon property, F1, you go immediately in the help online of the driver of the Movicon. The state command variable is really important because allows you to insert a variable, a byte, and through this variable you can retrieve very important information, like the communication state. So the first bit of this byte say that if it's 0, communication is okay. If you go in error, you have a communication error specific for this station. You can generate an alarm message in your Windows. You can gray out the screen interface for the operator that alert you lose the communication. You can do your action basing with this bit of the state command variable. Then there are other important interesting information. Enable, disable the driver dynamically through a logic, through a variable. Switch between, if you apply a redundancy at the driver level, redundancy, because here you can add a second IP address. Okay, so you can apply the redundancy in different level, in different context. Here, looking at the communication driver in the station, adding two IP address. So IP address and the other settings are here. Task now is not more so used, because Movicon work with dynamic task defined at the variable level. So it's normally not used at this part. Just a few words what the static task means. You can add here and configure your static task where you define the data area, the start address, and which variable is changed in this task. The static task offers the possibility to set for each task, so you can exchange this group of variables with the predefined polling time that could be different between a task to another. You can add some conditional variable for each task and so on. But you should build manually, so it's not the classical way to proceed, not to configure the interface with the PLC. About is the version of the DLL and of the driver. Important to check the website if you are using the latest version. Okay, that's all about the driver. A project could be with one driver or multi-driver. There are no limitation, no technical limitation about this. So you can add a Siemens driver to interconnect the main controller, Modbus driver to connect additional SCID, enable in parallel an OPC communication and connect an OPC server. So there are no limitations. And also the driver itself could contain more stations. So the same driver could connect at different IPs. Add, edit, remove the station through this. Here there is an interesting option, test cable connection, let you test. This test cable is nothing else than call an address of your PLC, let you test the communication. So in this case, I have to turn on my Modbus simulator. Is a small software that simulates Modbus simulator here on my desktop. If I repeat now the test, so let me close here. If I'm in the station, I test. Okay, I succeeded the communication. Could be the first step, no? Put in communication your project with the PLC. You should take this simulator as your PLC in this case, no? Okay, this is the first step. Insert the driver, configure the settings, the main settings. You can use the default. You could add only the IP. And then in case of problem, go and act on the other settings, because the settings that come with the basic predefined setting are good for start. Now, the next step could be to insert your variables. It's important to insert your variable. You can proceed manually, but it's not the good step. All our drivers offer the possibility to import the tag from the PLC, directly from the PLC. It's a good engineering rule, also in my previous experience. You normally create the logic and create a sort of folder where you decide which tag to share with the SCADA system. This could be a good. You can export from the PLC controller logic all the list of the tag, and then in the SCADA you can import. So with a few clicks, you will have here all your tags. Import from file. Modbus is not so smart example because it's requiring a CSV, for example. I just prepare a CSV, select all, address this tag with the IP address of my station, import. Finished. So, few seconds. Here I have all my list of the tags that are already linked with the PLC, because the dynamic task is built automatically. This is the standard point of communication between the tag and the PLC. Could be the same. For example, if I add a Siemens driver, just to show something, the standard S70CP driver, the import facility is different for this driver. Because okay, where I have something, let me check. So the VPA let you, for example, import the tags searching for an S7P file, starting from the step 7, an AVL, an SDF, or with the new S7 1200, 1500, you can access from the TR portal. Here are the different releases of the TR4. You can access directly at the AP 11, 12, and 13 file. So to read directly from the TR port. Here are, for example, some variables, select and import. Now there is no station not defined in my driver, so I cannot address properly this tag to the driver. I not add the station, as I do before with the Siemens. It's working like this, the importing. Not so difficult, it's very easy, and in a few seconds you can start finally to use your variables. Okay. Now, if you are not lucky, and I want to go to this thing, you can add manually your tag. Right click, add new tag, and set a tag name. Okay, you can proceed in this way. Copy paste, export CSV, and so on. Now, need to boring you again with the properties. The tag properties, the variable properties. Tag name, you can replace the tag name from here. Remember that if you replace a tag name, here you will keep between brackets the old name. I suggest to apply the new name in all the resources when you change the name, because you not change the tag only locally, but maybe the tag is used in a different context. So if you apply the new name, you will apply the name in all the resources of the project. You can add a description, could be important. Variable type, bit, byte, with sign or without sign, word, double, floating, string, array. In case of array, you should define here the address. So the length of the array with the you can add the member of the array between brackets in this point. Retentive not shared is in case allow you to set the not share variable to maintain the state of the variable across the shutdown. here is important, and is what I want to focus now, because it's in relation with our driver. You can build the communication with the PC manually also from here, if you cannot import. No? How? Simply, this button, this variable must be associated not with the PC, with the communication driver. Which driver? With my Modbus TCP/IP driver. And here I have the task properties. So I will share this variable that is a data area multiple register, holding register in Modbus. Or depend of the driver, no? Coil, input discrete, multiple register. Starting address, 0. Size of the register. Station will be PLC1, the only station I define. No conditional variable, no swap in this case. Type input output. So all the register is okay. No, you can read and write. If was, for example, a digital input, is only input. So you can change this property. That's all. No, here is the task. Is an example. No, that how is built the dynamic task inside the Movicon variable. It always comes with this syntax: drv driver name that you configure, station name, unit ID, function code to starting address 0. You can copy paste this on a second variable, or editing also in a CSV file. In this way, we create the association with this resistor. Let's test, no? How to test? Finally, double click on my screen 1, open the editor, toolbox, objects, display, drag here over my screen. You can resize, you can modify, no? To keep here the Project Explorer will be interesting, because you can simply take your variable and drag over the display. Now, for testing, we can leave the development environment in this way, save yes, and we are runtime. Let's imagine you are passing, so I'm forcing the PLC, you are passing 100. Here, we got our communication. Log say, communication established with the station PLC1. I can change from here. And here is the result. So it's very easy. I spend a lot of time looking at the property, but at the end will be automatic, no, to proceed in this way. We were looking at the variable properties. No, this is the important part of a variable, no, the dynamic property of the variable. Now, the quality, the initial quality is good. The quality will be updated according to the communication state. No? If you lose the communication, the quality of the variable will go in bad. No? Some advanced property for the statistic, to define an OPC group, to define and use an internal area, or for define the array, no area. Engineering data. You can set an initial value. Your variable start with an initial value equal 100. So it's a sort of constant. You could define a format, so the number of the digit after the comma. You could define an engineering unit that you can display in your display or in your text. You could define and enable a scaling in the variable, because often you are getting from the PLC not a scaled value but a raw value. So you can define here the raw scaling and the engineering unit scaling. You can play on this stuff here directly on the variables. Remember, the multi-selection is always available, no, to speed up. Or you can use another resource of the project that is called normalizer. In the normalizer, you can define your scaling, and you can associate here two variables, the raw variable and the scale to variable. Defining here all the property, the band, and define also a non-linear scaling in case you need. So, or from the engineering data or to the object. At chess level, is important. We will talk also in the intermediate level. In case you enable a user management in your project, user management in your project, a variable or an object or another resource could have a different access level in write and in read. It means you can go and change the variable value that may